It was pretty crazy when I first got there, because I'd been trying to study Portuguese, but it's completely different when you're in the country. And my first area was like about 7 hours by bus from the airport. So I got there, we had a little mini meeting with the president and the assistants, and then I met my trainer and we took off. And it was just completely new to me. I didn't really understand what anyone was saying. I was having a hard time communicating what I wanted to say, and to be perfectly honest, those first couple of weeks were probably the hardest 2 weeks of my mission, because it was just completely new. It was really hot, lots of mosquitoes, couldn't communicate with anyone, and I just felt like I'd been a way better missionary in Gilbert, and now the transition was a little bit rough. But after those first couple of weeks, as I started really relying on the Lord and doing my best, praying a lot, I was able to kind of get the hang of it and feel a little better about myself. So Rio de Janeiro mission encompasses most of the state of Rio. There's a little bit that's taken up by the mission above, Juiz de Fora, but most of the state of Rio is just the mission. That's the boundaries, pretty much. Rio is the most well-known, I guess, probably area in Brazil. It's very touristy. There's lots of tourist attractions, and it's a big mixing pot. You'll see people of all races, all types, all backgrounds, and it's very modernized, I guess. There's lots of buildings, cities. It's not very rural for the most part. Like some other missions in Brazil, you can find yourself in the Amazons or something. Lots of city, lots of people, lots of companies and everything. So I wasn't quite what I was expecting, I guess. But Rio was one of the first areas in Brazil to start growing with the church. Sao Paulo was the first one. That's the biggest city. But it started from a small little branch, and then a stake, and it started spreading outward, and kind of spread outward from the middle. So you can see that some of the strongest stakes are in the middle of the state. And as you get to the borders, where it's a little more rural, then it's groups and branches, and the stakes are a lot bigger geographically, but it's growing really fast. So as far as I remember, I think there's around 12 stakes, at least when I was there. The attendance, like if you're in that first stake that started, the attendance will be over 100. So it appears more or less like some of the wards that you'll see in the States. As you get a little bit farther away from the center of Rio, the wards will be around 60, 70, 80 attendance. Once you get into the branches, and the branches, my first area was a branch, and we had around 50 or 60, which is pretty good for a branch. It turned into a ward shortly after. And then there's the groups that are opening that will have like 10 people or so. I don't know, one of the biggest differences, I guess, in Brazil is that religion is kind of the culture down there. Like everybody's religious, whether they are or not. So you kind of have to remember that everyone's going to be talking about God. Everyone's going to be, reading the Bible for the most part. One of the most important things is distinguishing, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints from other religions. And that's why down there we focus a lot on, a modern prophet and the restoration, priesthood authority. Because pretty much everyone has been baptized, either Catholic as a child or, a different church later on. So you have to kind of really drive home the point that, it has to be done by the proper authority. And those kind of, those are the sticking factors, I guess, sticking points that how the church is different than all the other churches that they have down there. Another thing is that a lot of missionaries down there, we have to tract, we have to do street contacts, just because there's so many people down there, and everyone will invite you into their house pretty much, but getting them to commit to do things, especially like go to church and that kind of stuff, that's the hardest part. But I think what we need to remember is to work with members, because it's kind of tough, especially down there, as the members are usually still gaining their testimonies and stuff. But if you can work with the members well, then you'll have a lot more success. So I was in Brazil from February of 2014 to June of 2015. I had 5 areas down in Brazil. Started out in Parque Mambucaba, and then Caxias, Ilha do Governador, Curicica, and Madureira. And those are all great areas. My first one was really rural, really beautiful area, lots of green. All the other ones were in cities, so a little bit less beautiful, but great people there. In Rio, there's the city of Rio, and there's a couple other cities, but most places, most like mini cities, I guess they call them bairros, like neighborhoods, I guess. So they're like cities, but they're still part of the city of Rio. And those are the area names of those bairros that you serve in. My first area was really far. It was like a 7-hour bus ride, but besides that, they were all within 2 or 3 hours. So they're all considered, Rio.